What do Nietzsche, Darwin, and Tesla all have in common? Well, beside the fact that their IQ was about 100 points higher than mine, they all had their own rituals and habits around walking. You see, for them, walking wasn't just a break from work. It was a part of the process, a way to spark new ideas and solve big challenges. So, I wondered, what would happen if an average Joe like me adapted their walking habits? Would my IQ skyrocket? Would I come up with more ideas? Would I finally get rid of all the stress and anxiety? So for the past month or so, I've been going on extremely long walks like Nietzsche, I've captured my ideas like Beethoven, and I've recreated Darwin's famous thinking path. And in the process, I learned that these habits have absolutely no effect on my IQ, I can't walk like Nietzsche, and that you should definitely try creating your own thinking path. So this is day one. It's time for the first long walk. I don't really feel like going for a walk, to be honest, because I feel like I have a gazillion different things to do, and I don't feel like a walk is going to take me any closer to finishing all the tasks that I need to finish. But, maybe this is exactly the kind of a moment when I should go for a walk. For this first walk, I don't know, I have no idea where I'm going to go. I'm just going to start walking, go where my intuition takes me. Oh, what the fuck? It's been 10 minutes and now it's already raining. I thought it's gonna be sunny. What the fuck? I only took my camera gear and a bottle of water. I'm thinking that I'll notice if I need anything else during these walks. When you start going on longer walks, one of the first things you notice is the amount of ideas that start to emerge. And so it's natural that many of the geniuses who walked a lot also carried a tool to capture those ideas. Beethoven was known to walk and compose in his head, and there are accounts of him carrying small notebooks with him on his walks to jot down those musical ideas as they came. Similarly, Leonardo da Vinci used what's called a commonplace book. It's like a free-flowing repository for thoughts that you find interesting or meaningful. And often there is no order to the notes within a commonplace book. But for me though, I've found that audio recorders work the best. I don't need to stop at all, like I would if I had a notebook. I can just turn on the recorder. I think the laundry is still in the laundry machine. Say a few words mid-stride, and then turn off the recorder. So for this walk, I just went out the door and I had no agenda. But I think it might also be useful, at least sometimes, to have a question in mind before I go on these walks, and then to just ponder about that one thing throughout the walk. Like for instance, I can see how someone like Einstein might go for a walk after reading a bunch of research and then, processing that idea while walking and then coming up with ideas. But for a chap like me, who doesn't really read that much research and who doesn't need to come up with anything novel or any novel ideas really, it's maybe a bit less useful to go on a very long walk like this. Another example of using walking as a tool for focused thinking comes from Cal Newport. In his book Deep Work and his podcast, Newport describes how he uses walking to find solutions to specific questions.
This is productive meditation. And the rules for productive meditation are one problem, okay? So you come back to it. When your mind wanders, come back to the original problem. It helps your mind practice sustaining focus. The other thing you get better at when you do productive meditation is facility with your working memory. You can hold things in your working memory, pull one of those items out, do some work on it, put it back in, take out another element, and you get better at it with practice.
But for me though, I think the main reason I like walking is the fact that it is the one time when I can really let my thoughts wander. It's like my break from the deep focus that I try to achieve during my work. So it feels kind of counterproductive to also then use my walking time to focus even more. This is almost like getting lost on purpose, kind of. I'm trying to go to places that I've never been to. And I'm also attracted by these non-existent trails that lead to nowhere. I don't think that's the original purpose of these walks, but I guess you're allowed to modify the walks to your needs. Because I enjoy adventure, I prefer to take the less known paths. When you walk next to roads like this, I really start to understand how Paul Miles finds so much useful crap next to the roads. It's like, there's so much stuff.
I think me getting lost on purpose is a bit of a double-edged sword. On the other hand, it makes my walks more interesting, and it helps me create a network of paths around where I live.
It's just forest, there is no trail. Like I've already found so many new trails that I knew nothing about. And I'm building this map inside of my head so that when I go on these walks in the future, I have like this massive network of paths that I can take, which makes it that much more enjoyable. Like I just found this one, look at this. Wonder where it goes.
But on the other hand, when I don't know where I am or where I'm going, all my focus is going towards navigation and trying to find new paths.
Because I feel like the point would be that I'm on like autopilot, just walking without needing to think about walking, and then I can just let my thoughts wander. But now I'm just concentrating on where I'm placing my foot and where I'm gonna go. I have no idea, like look at this.
For instance, Charles Darwin used to walk the same path every time. It was his thinking path, which took a bit less than an hour to complete, and he would sometimes take that walk 3 times a day. So, inspired by Darwin, I created my own thinking path.
Just a second. So I drew this loop around town basically. It should take about an hour to walk it.
It took a few iterations, but I feel like I've found the path that I like the most. And unlike Darwin, I also added a little bit of flexibility to my walks. So depending on where I turn back home, I can complete my thinking path in 3 different lengths. For instance, the short loop is great if I'm not feeling it or I'm in a rush, and the longer ones are great for, well, when I do feel like walking. And I think this is a good mix of both worlds. You know, the paths are familiar enough that I don't need to focus on my surroundings, but there is enough variability to keep it enjoyable.
I would say I'm enjoying these short walks in the style of a thinking loop more than the long extended walks. Like these are just so much less intimidating in a way. With the long walks I'm kind of demotivated to go out for a walk because I know it's going to take so much time, and I always feel like I don't have that much time to spare for walking. The short walks, they don't take too long. I don't need any snacks with me. I don't need any water. I can just put my shoes on and get out the door. And in the end, I probably will still walk more with these short walks because I'll be doing them more often, even multiple times a day sometimes. And I feel like the effect on my mood and energy is still kind of the same as with the longer walks.
I know I already talked about this in my previous video, probably just shows how addicted I am to this game, but if you feel demotivated to go on walks, you could also try gamifying your walking. And one of the best and only ways that I have found to do that is with a game called Walkscape. And this is not sponsored at all. I just love the freaking game. Basically, it's a role-playing game that you play by walking in real life. You try to find different items and loots, level up your skills. You know, it's a classic RPG or role-playing game. And I've played a lot of RPGs in my youth, but even then, this game just feels different. It's a completely different experience to interact with the game by doing something in real life. And for the past 2 or 3 months, it has been one of the main drivers of my walking habit.
I left very late for my walk. This is kind of cool. Just enjoying the silence and darkness. Like, yeah, there's no car sounds or anything. It's pretty cool. I'm not sure if it's because of all this walking or if I was just bound to realize this week, but I feel like I've gained some clarity into what I want to do in the future. Like the solution now seems kind of obvious, but thus far I've just never thought of it as a viable option. It all just makes sense.
For myself, I'm not saying that this is true for everyone, but for myself I felt that the longer walks had diminishing returns. I felt like I got most of the benefits of the walk within maybe the first 30 minutes of the walk. And after that, I often started yearning to get home. I think the setting just isn't the best for very long walks.
Like most days, I just feel so overwhelmed by the amount of things I'm doing and the amount of things that I should get done that it doesn't feel like a good idea to go for a walk.
Like, I do enjoy very long walks whenever we're actually out on a hike or I have some free time for it. But a long walk during the workday just felt quite forced. But I can also see how longer walks would feel more enjoyable if I was trying to come up with solutions to specific questions about my work. The problem is, I just couldn't come up with such questions. I also don't think there's any one best way to go for a walk. Long walks are a great way to disconnect completely, and shorter, more frequent walks are great for a quick boost in energy and mood. And they also offer a great way to reevaluate what you've done thus far in the day and what you probably should do next. Sometimes you might want to wander aimlessly and quench your thirst for adventure and exploration, and sometimes you might just want to use a familiar path to give yourself some time to think. In the end, what I think matters the most is to find ways to make it as easy and as enjoyable as possible to go for a walk. Because I feel like the simple act of walking is still very underappreciated, and we should definitely do more of it.